To France and Italy, Avi Pasner, and senior correspondent Jordana Miller. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
Mr. Pasner, of course, Netanyahu, as Ellie mentioned, is also under fire. He's facing criticism for the kinds of relationships that he's fostering. What's your take?
I don't think that there is anything wrong with the relationship with Salvini. It's true, it comes from a rightist party, but when you start to search where are the roots of this party, they are not in Italian fascism. They are in the Lega Nord, which was a separatist movement in northern Italy in the 80s and 90s of the past century. Today, this is a right populist movement all over Italy, populist, not far right, okay, a populist movement, like you find in many countries in Europe today. There is in Europe today a strong reaction against Brussels, against the European Union. By the way, like you find in America, how was Trump elected? Also populism. This is a phenomenon which has nothing to see with the far right.
Sure, but of course, when we're talking about anti-immigration, and Jewish people around the world know very well how important it is to be invited into countries with open arms, fleeing from countries that they're facing persecution. And then we're hearing Salvini visiting the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Museum.
Why not? He's not anti-Semitic. He had a lot. I heard from him, and I know him personally also, a lot of times beautiful things about Israel and the Jewish people, also publicly, not only privately. I think we are making here an error. Those who criticize his visit don't understand. They believe that he is a far-right neo-fascist of Italy. It's not the case. He's Lega Nord. He's something completely different.
He may not be, in charge of a fascist party, but the problem here is that some of his rhetoric gets interpreted and can cater to fascists, even if it's not official policy of the party. And I think that's why we're seeing people that are willing
with
to
the
go,
current trend.
Yeah, are willing to go to Yad Vashem and protest because they believe people in his party don't like Jews, may even be Holocaust deniers. And we know that anti-Semitism is on the rise. Having said that, Israel, and particularly the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has a right, in a sense, like any country, to have a relationship with a leader if it serves Israel's national interests. And in this case, I'll give you just one example where Italy is important, and that is a very important gas pipeline that Netanyahu has been working very hard to build from here to Europe to sell natural gas. It's a deal that Cyprus and Greece and Italy have worked on. And, there's no reason that deal should get torpedoed, which will mean, really hundreds of millions of dollars for the Israeli economy over a leader who's some people in his party are perhaps neo-fascists.
I don't think that some people in his party are neo-fascist. There is a party in Italy whose roots are in fascism. It's called Alleanza Nazionale. And by the way, the leader of this party, Gianfranco Fini, came to an official visit to Israel. And I don't remember any such contestation. Suddenly, Salvini comes. It's true that he has harsh rhetorics. But
that's, I think, what Jordana's point is.
Yeah, he has harsh rhetoric. I agree with you. But in no way is he a neo-fascist or an anti-Semite.
Rhetoric is, especially now, of course, Trump is also accused of you can have whatever policy you want, but if you're cultivating fear and xenophobia, it's not helpful.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we're living in times where, rhetoric means less and less because it is abused on such a grand scale, and people have become almost numb to it. That it is in a way acceptable, unfortunately, in a way that it wasn't in previous years. And I think that's part of what we're seeing. But, I also think Netanyahu here has an interest with Italy on the issue of Jerusalem, for example. We heard, from Eli Hochenberg there, though we haven't confirmed it, there are reports that Italy is interested in possibly opening a cultural center as a precursor to moving the embassy. And we know that Netanyahu is interested in building a consensus around Jerusalem as the capital and the home of the U.S. embassy.
And keeping friends at the United Nations as well, which is another long game approach. Just to close us out, Mr. Pasner.
Yes, I would like to say that as a state, Israel has to go where he can find friends in Europe. And you know that our situation in Western Europe is not that good. So if we find a friend like Italy, an important Mediterranean country, you have mentioned some of the problems which are common to us and Italy. I think Netanyahu is right here in going where he can foster better ties.
Mr. Posner, thank you for being with us and for that insight. And as always, Jordana Miller.